We don't just wake up like this.
It costs money.
Yeah, it costs
Serious
money.
money.
Whoever asked you that, to ask that was brilliant.
I thought so. I personally thought that was a favorite of my Twitter questions that I got online.
Is that my mom?
Of your,
That was me,
yeah,
actually.
that was. How much of your family life ends up on screen, and do they know everything is fair game that happens?
Well, they know everything that's fair game that happens. My daughters are only now about the age that Phineas and Ferb are, but they inspire stuff, but it's not usually as direct as we've stolen pieces of his son's life.
Yeah, liberally.
Yeah, literally.
He has a lawyer now. It's all going to get out in a few years, but
So,
yeah.
Most of our inspiration actually comes from our own childhood, you know, because Swampy and I were both sort of creative kids, and we had creative parents that would allow us to do ridiculous things, and we were always building, you know, tree houses, and you know, I was the king of my neighborhood because I could jump 31 pine cones on my little banana seat bike, and me and some buddies took sticks and flashlights one day and crawled all the way through our subdivision in the drainage pipes that were about 4 feet tall, and came up in a and we came up and you'd see light ahead, and you'd come up and you'd look out through the drainage thing on the side of a curb, and suddenly realized, oh wait, that's Overlook Church. That's like 1.5 miles from my house. We should go back. And there was a manhole right there that we could have easily gotten out of, and instead we went back through the drains again. But
a lot of it
a lot of
is
silly
just
things.
starts with us putting ourselves back as, you know, a 10 to 12-year-old boy. You think if you could do anything, and that's pretty easy for us to do because we're pretty close to that maturity level.
Yes, exactly.
Ask anyone who knows us.
And there's all the things that you did as kids. Like, well, we built tree houses. How would Phineas and Ferb build tree houses? Well, they'd be tree houses, but also robots. They would move around and fight each other and stuff like that.
I look back on some of the go-karts that we built out of old wheels and stuff, and think it's really amazing that I'm here. And that I have all my teeth, most of them.
Like that.
After 10 years and so many episodes, do you have a favorite?
Ooh, we have a list of favorites. The thing, if I really have to be pressed for favorite, it might be a roller coaster, because it's just the one that Swampy and I did just by ourselves, basically. But the one that now when I watch it later, for me, is Summer Belongs to You, which was our first hour-long special, and it had the like Phineas and Isabella in Paris, where Isabella's trying to get him to see how romantic it is, and Candace and Jeremy, you know, decide to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and then they all get stranded on the desert island, and there's the last 11 minutes of Summer Belongs to You, I think, is maybe the best thing.
And the song is one of our favorites. The end of that, it really says a lot about the series.
Yeah.
So it's a great.
Yeah, there's a couple ending songs. There's Summer Belongs to You, Carpe Diem, and this one, the one that was just there, that I literally can't watch without tearing up. Like, when it was playing, I actually purposely took my phone out and answered emails so that I wouldn't be, you know, like red-eyed.
I foolishly didn't and just cried. Thank you for the hug.
So. Yes.
I think it was probably about 2 years ago I interviewed you guys at Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to think at that point you were at the point of the contract negotiations.
Right.
And in the starting phase of thinking at this point.
Yeah.
Was it something where you really felt the need to move on to your next project, or?
Well, we've been doing this for a decade, and we felt like this is a good time to, you know, like I feel like the show is still really good and really fresh. I'm really proud of most of the fourth season as much as I am of the first ones, and I felt like let's go out before we start really feeling like, oh, now, you know, before it starts feeling tired and
There's a whole new batch of kids that can start on episode 1.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny now, you go to talk at colleges, and there's people at colleges saying, oh yeah, I've been
that's
been
the
watching
show they
you
grew
since
up on.
I was in middle school, and you think, that's not Oh, yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, that's right. That's the age of those kids. And you know, they're doing a marathon on Disney XD this week, starting I think Tuesday or Wednesday. It's 73 hours straight of Phineas and Ferb. It's going to be going 24 hours a day. They're going to do every episode leading up to the finale. That's a lot of TV.
My wife's already started brewing coffee for the
So, in the black.
You mentioned that people in college are talking about it. I'm curious, has anyone said that you've inspired them to become an engineer or something like that? And if they
Yes.
have,
Yeah.
obviously they have, but what's
It's
your favorite one that you've heard? Like the favorite inspiration?
I don't have a favorite, but you would be shocked at how many letters we get of people telling us, you got us through a really dark time.
You inspired my kid to be more creative. Somebody sent us this letter that said, it was actually a letter to, I think, Gary Marsh, the head of the channel, just saying that before their kid was watching Phineas, they would sort of get through art class to go out and play, and and would never draw anything, would never do anything, and she sent a picture that he had drawn from before Phineas, and it was like one line on a piece of paper. It was sort of like, you want me to draw there? I've drawn here. I'm going to go out and play. And then a picture that he drew after he started watching Phineas, and all the creativity that she saw coming out of him. That makes me cry. But you get a lot of stuff like that when we've known the show's been over for a while. We've sort of been over it, and a couple weeks ago when they announced it, I was waiting. It's a funny story. I was waiting outside a courtroom for jury selection. I was on jury duty, and I looked at my phone, and Cecilia had sent us the link. Oh, hey, it's finally announced. I knew it was being announced that week, but I didn't know what day. And so I went ahead and I tweeted it because people on Twitter sort of suspected the show was over for a while, and I said, okay, it's finally been announced. We can let you know. It's been a great summer, And I tweeted it, and immediately there were hundreds of people saying wonderful things about the show, and some of them were things like, this is the show that got me through PTSD. This is the show that got me through chemo with my kid because it was the one thing that would make him smile. They're all these kind of things, and I started crying like I'm doing right now. And I went into the bathroom.
I'm sitting at my desk going through the tweets, and he calls and says, have you been reading Twitter? I'm like,
And I went into the bathroom to splash water on my face because I got to go in and answer, jury questions, on this thing. And I looked at my face and I just looked like a crazy person, And I was like, I should just go in like this. It'll get me out of jury duty, It's like I did, but it wasn't because of that. It was because they had already decided the case. They plea bargained the case out. So, but yeah, I mean, for us, it's been over for a while. We've been through several crying sessions for the last records with all the main characters, the last animatic, the last pitch. There's all these lasts that happen in animation, and we've been through all of those. But it was, a couple of weeks ago when she sent me that, it didn't occur to me that there's this whole community of people out there. And that was the first time they realized it was over. So it was hard. I don't mean to cry in front of you guys. So, yeah.
So what's next for you guys?
We have a
surfing.
show.
I'm going surfing. Nothing but surfing.
Well, the show's been, like in animation, 2 years ago we had 70 people, and we were just going from meeting to meeting to meeting to animatics to rewriting to redrawing to all this sort of stuff all day for like 8 years. It was like that, and then the last year or so has been slowly slowing down for us because okay, now we're no longer writing new episodes. And eventually we were just working on one story, which we haven't been working on just one story in forever. And so it's been this sort of, we've sort of relaxed into this other
It's a bit
life.
like juggling one ball.
And then And then we just sold another show to Disney that they picked up called Mikey Murphy's Law, and we're just in the start of that right now, and I can feel that ramp up coming again, and you know, we're not quite in that crazy area yet because we're just writing, but we're starting to hire artists and stuff like that. And, so a month from now we'll just be frantic again for hopefully
No more
a long
surfing.
time. Good.
With Phineas and Ferb, it was, you know, for kids, the creativity, inspiration. What is your main goal for the next?
You know,
Dark,
yes.
heavy stuff, no.
Yeah, everybody's mean in it. No, I feel like this is a good follow-up to Phineas, because it's a completely different show, but it has the same sort of positivity that Phineas does. Mikey is a kid who is the great-grandchild of Murphy from Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So whatever can go wrong does go wrong around him constantly since he was a little kid. But just as if you were born with one arm, you learn to do everything with one hand, and you don't think of it as an imposition. By the time you're in middle school, you're not upset that you don't have.
If you
the
ask
other
Mikey, he'd say he's lucky because his life is filled with adventure and
Yeah.
excitement every day.
So he takes everything with the most absolute optimism and positivity, and he puts a positive spin on anything, and he just copes with it as it comes because this stuff has happened all the time. He's got a backpack with, you know, a helmet and surgical tape and
Spare
galoshes, and you know, and he's got sort of like, you know, Mary Poppins backpack with everything in it. And it's really just about meeting adversity with positivity and optimism.
Often that it's deciding how to take the things that life throws at you. You can either take them as an excuse for why your life is awful, or you can choose to look at them as why your life's exciting and why you've gotten the opportunity to learn or do so much. Yeah.
So, you know, successful shows always kind of take on a life of their own. What about this show has sort of, you know, surprised you looking back at it from what the original?
Well, we were surprised how well it took off, how quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I think we felt like we're funny guys. We can make a funny show. I've worked on a lot of shows that have become successful, and I felt like, you know, maybe I could do that. But I think it took off much quicker and much bigger than we thought it would. If you're talking about within the show, that's a question I always ask other showrunners. The question that nobody ever asks, but every showrunner has an answer to this the next time you're interviewing a showrunner, is what character in the show ended up completely different than the way you had conceived of them. In Lost, I think, was Evangeline Lilly's character. In Phineas, it was Stacy, Candace's best friend, who doesn't actually appear in this. So we sort of pared it down to just the original characters because it was such a complicated story. But Stacy ended up exactly the polar opposite of how we started with her. She was originally supposed to be a character that was going to whip Candace into a frenzy. And Ashley's voice acting had so much energy to it, and it was so easy to get her to that frenzy spot that we very quickly sort of swithed her over to be sort of
became
a
the voice
calming
of reason
influence.
in Candace's life.
And so, but there's a lot of things that happen during the course of a show where you know, in Monograms, Swampy's character was not supposed to be anything other than a means of exposition, a means of getting Perry's
Get the audience up to speed on
mission.
what was going on that day with Perry, because he doesn't talk.
And then he became this character, and we you know, somebody wrote in.
He's got a life. You found out he goes home early on Tuesdays
And
for
he's got
taco night.
this assistant, Carl, who works the buttons on everything, and you know, somebody had him talking off screen to Carl when something didn't go right. And then the next episode, somebody drew Carl in, and you know, and then there's this sort of weird father-son you know, thing with Carl, where he never appreciates Carl for all the stuff he does. There's, you know, there's a lot of stuff like that. The whole backstory thing of Doofenshmirtz, who's had all these backstories, has really came from John Barry and Chris Hedrick, who are two of our board writers, who just pitched it to us thinking we would not even like it because
They were sure we were going to cut it.
You know, it's such a tangent to go on, and it was all about, you know, why Doofenshmirtz wanted to destroy all the lawn gnomes in the tri-state area. You know, back in Gimmelstoke, in the days of my youth, our lawn was repossessed, and my father made me be the lawn. There's this whole long, you know, convoluted reason why he does that. And we laughed out loud, and that became a staple of the show. But that wasn't something we had originally conceived.
The thing that I'm really proud of when I look at things that folks will come up and talk to us about, the giant floating baby head, Klimpaloon, weird catchphrases and the monogram story, the backstories and all this stuff, there's so much of it that came from the minds of the people that were working on the show. And it's really nice to feel like we've created an environment where everybody got to contribute. Most of the good ideas that really seem to stick with people weren't ours, but were created by the guys who were there every day. We certainly do. We told them at the time,
Yes.
We'll take complete credit for this thing. And that's been great. And it made me feel good about that whole production part of it, that, you know, everybody got a chance to do something and make an impact. And we kind of created this little environment where people could just build on all these characters, and all this stuff came into it that we never thought of. And that's been great.
You talked about closure. Would you like to see Phineas and Ferb make an appearance down the road?
We've,
Never say never.
Yeah, we've thought about it. What, you know, these kind of things have a life of their own. They're still making Scooby-Doo, you know, and we were sort of the Scooby-Doo for a whole generation. We were the one that all the kids were watching for a large portion of that time. So I could imagine, you know, 10 years from now, them dusting it off and wanting to do more with or without us. You know, I never say that I wouldn't come back and make more.
Live action movie starring a young George Clooney.
Yes.
Monogram, I think that.
How are they going to find a young George Clooney? But
I'm not good with details.
yeah, I mean, I would probably be up for it. You know, it's like I'm, you know, I was ready to step away for a while, but I already miss those characters. I miss voicing Doof. I just miss spending time with them. And, you know, now when funny things happen in my life, or I get an idea for something really funny, for the last year, I haven't been able to go and put it on TV. And there's something really great about, you know, like, oh, I've got this really funny idea. I can put it on TV for the whole world, you know, by just going to work and fitting it into the show. And so, you know, and then, you know, for a while, anything I wanted to rant about, I could. We had this Doof Daily Dirt web series that would come on, and you know, so I would just write it down and go in and read it, and then we'd animate it, and you know, like Carly Rae Jepsen's song. You know, I don't get it. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, so I'm waiting for something crazy, right? And then she says, but here's my number, and call me maybe. That's not crazy, that's what you do. When you want someone to be like, it won't be crazy as if she didn't give this guy any way to get in touch with her, but wanted to see him again socially. That would be the crazy thing.
We were grateful because Dan had a place to vent this stuff.
Yeah, so I wasn't,
Every day.
One Direction. I know why they're called that. Their hair all blows in one direction. Look at them on stage. The One Direction they're talking about is stage right. It's right over there. So it's a privilege to be able to have a place to put all that stuff, and you know, and now we have another venue to put all the stuff we think is funny, and hopefully the rest of America will think it's funny. Yes.
Just wanted to ask a little bit about the writer's room when you came in and wanted to work towards creating this episode. Like, how many different story ideas did you go through, or did this kind of...
Oh, for this episode?
Yeah, did it come together pretty quickly? Or?
We had an idea for a long time about doing a kind of a Groundhog Day-ish story. And so when we thought about the end, it just seemed like a really good fit.
It's the last day, and the last day repeats over and over. So it's sort of like getting extra days.
And it fulfilled a lot of people's wishes, I think, for that last day of summer to repeat.
We sort of pitched this as Groundhog Day meets the Langoliers. Yeah,
We knew
there you
that
go.
kids really like
That's-
Stephen
that's
King
the-
references.
Yeah, exactly. Especially from the 80s.
From the 80s, that's what kids are all about.
They love references to books and things that happened before they were born. That's what we decided. Ed plays
That's what we
these
tell
minor
people.
characters in Hamlet,
Yes.
and
You get
so
to
we tell
see
people-
Hamlet in the background and the Rosencrantz
Yes.
and Guildenstern characters. It follows them, and that was our answer when people asked us about that. We said, well, kids love Tom Stoppard plays.
So,
Yeah, you should let us do it because of that.
well, yes.
Once you had an end date 2 years ago, did that change the way you approached the stories? Was it a chance to like, if you had like the wish list of things you're
Well-
looking for places for, like, did you suddenly feel like the clock was ticking and now was the time?
Well, the big thing for us was people have always asked if Phineas and Isabella are gonna get together. And so the penultimate episode is an episode called Act Your Age. It takes place 10 years in the future, and we get to see how Phineas and Isabella get together. And that was sort of, you know, I've been quoted as saying that's really the emotional finale to the show. You know, like that's the end of the emotional arc for the show, and that this is the finale for the rest of everything going on. So, yes.
I saw the pictures of the actors that voice the characters go across the screen. How many Easter eggs are hidden in this movie?
There's a few. That one's funny to me because we only used the actors that look vaguely like they could be those people. Because Buford is, you know, he's like 50 years old and got white hair and a beard, and it just looked weird for him to be in there. So we made him like going, hey, why didn't I change? And then he turns into like when they change into the actual people. He becomes an octopus. it's like people have seen it several times before they realize, hey, why didn't Buford change? So it's like, you didn't want to see Buford, trust me. So, yes.
You joked about a live action movie, but there was one announced and it had a release date.
There
and a
was,
screenwriter.
and
Can
then
you talk about what happened with that?
well, the head of the studio changed.
Okay.
In between there, it was, it suddenly became less of a priority when.
It's also it's really hard to do a big live action feature when, not only with these characters because of the nature of them, but we had an ongoing series. And so a lot of the drive was to have a character arc where the characters change.
And the thing about Phineas and Ferb is that they don't
change. And so there was a struggle to kind of get a story that worked for everybody. And we've always felt if we couldn't get something that we really 100% believed in and that, you know, served the show and the characters the way we thought, that we were fine if it didn't go ahead. So when all of that kind of changed, the environment changed, we were kind of okay.
What was the story? I mean, you had Oscar.
Well, we had several different ones over the course. I'm not sure we're allowed to say.
No, probably not.
But the sort of sad thing was by the time it started dissolving, we had all come up with a story that we all liked, and you know, who knows, maybe they'll make it someday.
We still have a
They
copy
have
of it.
they have the rights. So, yes.
So, you know, just talking to us, you've slid into the Doofenshmirtz voice a couple of times. Is that still happening for you, and do you think that will continue?
I still get that a lot from kids. Like, you know, my 7-year-old will sometimes lead on the playground with, you know, my dad created Phineas and Ferb, and he does the voice of Doofenshmirtz, and she'll show up with kids. Daddy, can you do the voice for them? You know, so
I still have people
I
who
get
come up
that.
with a phone. Could you leave a message for my kid? Or
Yes.
better yet, my dad.
Yes.
I had a guy who came up to me. I was doing a talk in Oklahoma at the university there. The guy comes up to me afterwards. It's going to sound really stupid, but could you get Monogram to call and ask my dad to send me more money? I said, the fact that you're here at college and you and your dad both, yes, of course. Yes. And had a great conversation with him in Monogram's voice. And apparently he did send more money. So result.
Yes.
But yeah, we still do, and I think that'll be forever. There's so many parts of our lives now that those voices just feel appropriate. What I really like is being at Disneyland. You see a kid with a Agent P shirt on. We just in line behind them, come up and go, "Good morning, Agent P,
Oh my
evil
God.
doctor," and they'll turn around, oh, sorry. And inevitably the kid will say, "You do that really well." Oh, thank you. Practice a lot, you know, at home.
I was on a camping trip with my daughter's third grade class at Joshua Tree, and one of the other dads there just happens to be Chris Sanders, who created Lilo and Stitch, and he does the voice of Stitch. And there was a talent night, you know, like around the campfire, and so he and I got up and did Blackbird by the Beatles as Doofenshmirtz and Stitch. And one of the other dads videotaped it and just sent me the tape, and so I put it up on Twitter this morning, which I thought that was a fun little thing.
Excellent, we've answered all the questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
It's,
Okay.
kinda, I just want to ask, is there anything that you want people to know about this series, about the show, about anything at all about the show that maybe didn't get out there, or that you just want your audience to
The
know?
thing that I want people who are making programs to get out of this is that you can never go wrong overestimating the intelligence of kids.
Yeah.
That's what I hope people get. You can make cool shows that appeal to everybody, from adults, teenagers, to little kids, all the way on down, without being mean, without having, your shows filled with jerks and idiots, and that you can put big words in, and it's okay, and you can do classical music and jazz music and folk music and rock and roll and rap and all of that, and kids will get it. And if you can just stop people from dumbing down the subject matter that they feel they need to put in front of kids, this whole thing will be a bigger success. That's what I want people to get out of it, because that's what we fought for. We fought for treating kids smart and clever, and everybody that we started hearing from the early days got that. That was so rewarding. It's like, it's a show we can sit down with the whole family, and I feel really comfortable with my kids watching it, and they're inspired, and I'm inspired. That's been great.
Yeah, we made a lot of choices early on about making sure that all like Phineas and Ferb are never disobeying their mom. They may be doing things that would get them in trouble, but they don't know that they would get them in trouble. It's like mom doesn't say don't build a roller coaster in the backyard. She says stay out of trouble, and they don't really have a frame of reference for trouble since they've never really been in trouble. And Candace is not trying to hurt Phineas and Ferb. She's going for fairness. If I did this, mom would get mad at me, so I just need mom to see this. And they're very subtle differences, and just like having everybody be sort of nice to each other. Nobody's ever motivated by meanness. These are all very subtle things that we thought would go over the heads of the audience, but just to have a nice feel. And people have written all sorts of articles about the show in which they get all of those things, and that I'm just thrilled that it actually came through, and that it feels like it's a kinder, gentler show than a lot of those shows out there, and still hopefully fun. Yeah.
My 10-year-old daughter wants to know if you've ever wanted to pursue making some of the inventions a reality.
Constantly.
Yeah, I think a time machine would be fun, but very dangerous. Levitating, the levitating machine, the anti-gravity machine that they all just sort of flew around the thing. I've actually sort of done that. I went and did the weightless flight, that you go up and there's like a hollowed out 747 or something, and they climb and dive, and for about 20 seconds at a time, you're absolutely weightless and can push off of walls and fly like Superman and stuff like that. That was maybe the coolest thing I've ever spent money on. Maybe the most expensive too.
I'm constantly tempted to modify my vehicles at home to be race cars or monster trucks. I haven't quite done it yet, but every day it's a burning itch.
We have time for one more question.
How about you?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I have a couple of fans that are like tweeting with me.
Okay.
They're very sad that it's over, and they're already hoping that you guys do a reunion show.
Well,
So
tell them to write Disney.
They're following along.
Thank you.
So-
Disney
Tell them
TV
to write
animation
in
in
your-
Glendale, California.
A question to that?
I have a question I promised my daughter. She came up
Okay.
with this question. She wants to know where she could go to get 104 days of summer vacation. She only gets 86.
That's a Danville.
Danville. In Jefferson County.
Yes.
In an undisclosed location in the
Yes.
United States, that's a day's drive
We have
from the
to,
beach and also a day's drive from Mount Rushmore.
we have to apologize for that, because that was literally in a meeting when we were first deciding to set it all in summer. Because the show is basically the show that we had for 13 years, but it wasn't originally just set all in one summer. That was something that came out when we were meeting with the execs at Disney, and Swampy and I said, oh, that would be really cool if we did it all in summer, because then we don't have to draw desks. And I said to somebody, does anybody know how many days there are of summer vacation? And somebody said, oh yeah, no, I just had to research that. There are 104. And what they had researched is how many actual days of summer there are, which is 104. There's not anywhere near 104 days of summer vacation.
And it wasn't that long after the show went on the air that we started getting angry letters.
Yes. Wait a minute, we don't have 100. People were telling us all the time. My kids were really disappointed when they counted up their days of summer vacation, and it was
Found out
like
they were robbed.
40 or something like that. So sorry about that, but it fit in with the song. We wrote
It's
the song around.
much nicer to sing
Yes.
than there are variably 30 to 60, you can get
Yes.
really complicated 104s.
Yeah. So for them, they get the whole summer off.